Good evening. I'm Tia Cubreath. I'm a senior in ENS studying environmental science. Um, Today, I'd like to tell you about my summer experience with the Cornell Botanic Garden. So, I worked with the communications team for the Cornell Botanic Garden. I worked with these lovely people. My main supervisor was Miss Shannon Dorch. Thank you for coming. Um, I worked remotely from Brooklyn. I wasn't there in person. I mostly did planning stuff on Facebook, creating events that were gonna happen in the garden, helping people know oh, this is where you sign up for the webinar, or this is how you sign up to go on the tour. Those were the main things I did. Um, I had two goals for this summer. I wanted to find metrics that the gardens relied on, specifically on their social media platforms, and I wanted to understand what we could learn from these metrics. I wanted to pinpoint where visitor interest was focused and what tactics we could use to increase engagement. There was one problem, however. I don't use social media. I don't have an Instagram. I don't have a Facebook. I don't have a Twitter. I don't have a Snapchat. So I'm kind of a grandma in a young person's body. So before I could even begin to understand before I could even begin to understand the garden's platforms, I had to understand social media itself. So I did some research. I made some accounts. I looked at some of the more famous users on the platforms. I looked at what kind of things they posted, what kind of posts received the most amount of engagement, likes or dislikes or shares or hearts, all of that jazz. And I observed the level of engagement and what aspects of the sites proved that certain posts were good posts, or the posts that received a lot of good positive attention. Based on the sites I used, I decided upon three metrics to track. The first one is likes and dislikes. They're not only easy to track, but they're also good at keeping track of They're good at informing us whether viewers like the content that we're sharing. While we could also track the number of people engaging with our posts by looking at views instead of likes, likes are more valuable to us because they show us that the person who actually viewed the content actually liked what we had to share. The second one was comments. It's the direct line between the viewer and us. It gives them a chance to tell us and everyone who's viewing our content what they thought about what we had to share. This is good for judging the appeal of our content. For example, if I make a post on Facebook talking about an upcoming tour in the garden and someone replies positively, I can assume that our viewers like this kind of content and they will engage with it more often. Last but not least, shares. Someone sharing a post means that they found it interesting enough to share with other people. Sharing increases the possibility of more people seeing our content and becoming part of our audience. I studied these particular metrics as I viewed the data for Cornell Botanic Gardens, their Facebook page, their Twitter page, and their Instagram page. I also looked into their website statistics, but I'm not going to talk about that in this talk because then they would just be way too long. I looked at the type of content we posted and I began to notice a trend. There were some posts that received more engagement than others, some that more people viewed than others. After studying these posts and researching the psychology behind what makes a social media post good and what makes a social media post go viral, I came up with a checklist of sorts on what kind of content we should focus on to increase our engagement. Okay, so out of these two photos, which one did you look at first? Doesn't matter if anyone can answer. The one on the left? Okay, good. If you had said the one on the right, I wouldn't know what to do. So most of you looked at the picture of the beautiful flowers on the left. Okay, good. That's because humans are drawn to color and vibrancy. A post with a bright and colorful picture is more likely to receive attention compared to a post with a neutral color picture or no picture at all. Another thing that people are drawn to is nature. The engagement with posts about going outside or look at this beautiful bird or look at this plant that I'm growing in my garden, those types of posts receive more attention than others because people are not quite as connected to nature as they would like to be. Some people live in urban areas like I do back at home, where there's like no natural areas and the parks are kind of like scarce, or they don't have the time and money to go to like a natural park and be in nature. By bringing the nature to them, we can increase the engagement and the amount of people interacting with our content. Ithaca is also a very beautiful place with many natural features like the gorges and the waterfalls. People want to see these features because they're not common where they live. We can use this to our advantage to bring more people into our audience by showcasing, like, look at the gorge, or here's the history of like how this waterfall came to be. People are interested in that kind of content. So these are some photos from the garden's Instagram page. As you can see, they're all either beautiful flowers or beautiful landscape shots. If we focus on this type of content, we should continue focusing on this type of content in the future to give viewers what they want, basically. Another aspect to check is the length of our social media posts. So this was created in 2012 when Facebook had increased its character length to 56,000 characters. So while this was funny at the time to see a bunch of posts that were like 3-page essays long, viewers don't like this kind of content. No one really wants to read an essay while they're scrolling their social media page. I mean, that's why you go to social media, to procrastinate on your essay. So we should keep our posts to short and sweet style. So 1 or 2 sentences, get to the point right away. You don't need to give filler on like, oh, here's the history of like the garden, blah blah blah. We're doing a tour, blah blah blah. Just keep it to, we are doing a tour. Another aspect to keep in check is positivity. People like to see positive things in their newsfeed. Humans are social creatures. We like seeing people smiling and doing activities and having fun. We also like seeing positive news features. There's been a lot of bad news recently, lots of bad things happening around the world. Seeing a little bit of positive would make viewers more likely to want to engage with our content, because it gives them a little bit of break of all the bad stuff that's happening around them. One more aspect to consider is evoking emotion. I'm pretty sure everyone has seen this commercial with ASPCA with the sad music and the dogs. This is evoking an emotion in you. You feel empathy for these creatures. You want to do something. You want to protect them. And that makes you more likely to want to donate to their cause. We can do the same thing with our page. Maybe not to this degree. Just a little bit of emotional manipulation is good. Making our viewers feel means they're more likely to share our posts and get others involved and want to be a part of our community. That might even cause someone to want to volunteer for the gardens. The last aspect I want to highlight are hashtags. When a viewer wants to search for something on a social media website, they usually use hashtags to narrow their searches. Using both specific and broad hashtags are helpful for increasing the amount of people that will see our posts. So for this picture of this beautiful bird, this person used the hashtags like bird watching and birding. Those are more specific hashtags pertaining to the content in the photo. However, they also used more broad hashtags like nature, conservation, nature photography. It allows people from both the broader hashtag searches and the more condensed hashtag searches to come together to see the photo. However, too many hashtags and hashtags that aren't relevant to the photo in particular can have an opposite effect. This picture is quite funny. It's quite cute and funny. However, it has nothing to do with hashtag singing. Someone who's searching for singing videos or singing tips is probably going to be pretty annoyed when they see it, like a bunch of monkeys on little motorcycles instead of what they looked for. So we should avoid doing this when we're trying to increase the amount of people interacting with our posts. So now it's time to put it all together. How can we use this checklist of colorful imagery, short descriptions, positivity, evoking emotions, hashtags on the Cornell Botanic Gardens social media post? Here's an example of something I came up with. This is the American globe flower. It is a small, beautiful, rare native plant that we are currently conserving in the Cornell Botanic Gardens. We want to increase awareness of this flower and get more people on board with protecting it. How should we go about posting about it? So these are some example posts that I came up with. It has a colorful picture of nature. It has a nice short and sweet description. The American globe flower is one of the rare and fragile native plants being conserved at the Cornell Botanic Gardens. Visit the garden today to catch a glimpse of this beauty. Nice and sweet, gives the point. This is the topic that we want to share. It's positive. While the flower is in danger, I didn't explicitly say that in the post. All I did was say it was rare and we are conserving it in the garden. By keeping away from the negativity of what's currently happening to the flower and instead focusing on the positivity of the flower, we're increasing the amount of people who will be more interested in learning about it. It also evokes emotion, both in awe of the beauty of the flower and both in awe and the beauty of the flower and its rarity. People are more likely to want to come and view the flower in person and come to the gardens and see it, thus increasing the amount of people who get involved with the Cornell Botanic Gardens community and learn more about the flowers within the garden. I also used hashtags that pertain to the topic. I used hashtags like #conservation, #nature, hashtag Ithaca is gorgeous. Those are more broad hashtags. I could have used more centric hashtags like Cornell Botanic Gardens, #gardening, #flowers, those kind of hashtags to bring the type of people we want to see these kind of posts, people who are interested in plants and nature in the first place. So what I've learned from my experience working with the Cornell Botanic Gardens and working with social media and doing social media posting and studying the psychology behind social media, it's just how important social media is for an organization's success. Interacting with users is basically the lifeblood of an organization. Without people, our audience, the organization has nothing. Giving our audience content like this that will inspire them to want to work with us and collaborate with us and volunteer and donate and just be a part of a community together. This is the type of content we should look for and do. Thank you.